One thing I love about the minor pentatonic scale is just how dang useful it is. That's probably why it's at the heart of that bluesy sound and makes its way into pretty much every jam night. Now, most of us learn our pentatonic scales with those big box patterns. I did, and they're great for getting your reps in, but for a lot of us, including myself, you can practice those shapes so much that you just get stuck there. Let's revisit our 4-note mini pentatonic box from Tuesday Blues 337 and explore some ways to expand it and then shift out of that tiny little box. If you're stuck in the boxes right now, then this will help you break out, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say pentatonic boxes, then good, you won't get stuck there if you really dig into this lesson. So let's get to it. By the way, if you haven't checked out Tuesday Blues 337, take it for a spin if you're looking to get started jamming. We keep things nice and simple with just 4 notes. And speaking of those 4 notes, let's review them quickly in 3 spots on the neck. We've got our box in the middle here, A, C, D, and then the G below the root to complete that box shape. Then we can go an octave lower and play A, C, D again, and then there's the G below the root. And an octave above this root, we come up here, there's our A, C, D, G below the root. In our study in Tuesday Blues 337, we connected these boxes with sort of a brute force approach. It works, but we can be a little bit more musical and fluid with how we transition through the octaves or positions on the fretboard. And that's where adding the missing note of the pentatonic scale comes in, and we learn how to connect the fretboard zones using that note. It's pretty handy. So let's talk about that missing note. If you're familiar with the scale, you'll notice that we have our root A, minor third C, the 4th D, and then that flat 7th G. Now those are the notes in the 4-note box, but we're missing the 5th E. We can find that E note below our root here, the 7th fret, 5th string, and here above it, 5th fret on the 2nd string. Now the same holds true when we shift the box into the lower octave. We can find our E note above and below the root. There it is above the root. This is now the root. And below the root is the open 6th string. And the same thing holds true with the higher octave. Here, there's our root. We can go above the root with the E just by moving up to the 12th fret 1st string, and then we can go below the root and find our E there on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. Now, it might seem kind of weird to learn the scale out of order and kind of come back and fill in the missing note as we've just done, but we did so on purpose, very much on purpose. We aim to jam as fast as possible and not get caught up in scales. The 4-note box is dead simple, and it helps you get started jamming and moving around the fretboard in the fastest way that I know how to show you. Now, as a quick bonus box pattern here, there's another 4-note box. Now that we know where this E is, we can do a cool little open position box that really gets us to this A, the root, right? On the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Go down, there's our G. We can always go down a full step. Just view your finger here where the nut is. You can see that happening, right? Then we drop down to the 4th string, we hit that E, and then the open D. So we've got a cool little 4-note box here as well. we're going to use that. But after finding that E note right next to the boxes, we're ready to put it into action and use it, connecting these different spots on the fretboard. So let's have a look at an example that shifts from our 4-note box in the 5th position to the open position using that A note on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. So what we really have is a pathway here on the 3rd string. There's our box. We can shift this way down to the 2nd fret, and then we're in our open position box. Targeting that A note. So let's put this move, this pathway, to work in a more musical example. Cool. We can keep going and shift from this box down to the E note in our open position box. That's the 4th string, 2nd fret. Here are the notes. And now let's have a look at this move in the context of a lick. Now let's take this up the fretboard a bit. Here's an example that moves us up near the 9th fret, 8th fret, and 10th fret by walking up the scale on the 3rd string. Here are the notes. Now let's use this shift in a very useful lick that you can steal for your very own. We're going to pull all of these ideas together in a 12-bar jam in just a second. But before we do, if you enjoy this, if you really like these lessons, hit subscribe. BGI publishes new lessons every Tuesday, and I'd love to have you following along. There's much more to this series on the basics of jamming, so be sure to click the bell icon to be notified when these lessons go live. Now, let's have a look at a 12-bar blues jam. See if you can spot where I intentionally shift from one box to another. This jam is just an idea of what you can do. The point of these lessons is to get you jamming on your guitar. So fire up a backing track and use these strategies to create a 12-bar solo of your very own. Get comfortable with the 4-note box, add in the 5th note from the scale, and then use these pathways to connect different parts of the neck. If you do, record it, post it to Instagram, and tag Blues Guitar Institute. I cannot wait to see what you come up with, and I'll see you back here for another lesson next week. Until then, practice smart and play on.